In the throne room of Thalrix Prime, the galaxy held its breath. Columns of black stone reached high into the misty ceiling, where thousands of digital eyes watched the live stream across a million systems. Every world under Thalrex's rule, every governor, soldier, slave, and citizen was tuned in. At the center of it all stood Emperor Kalzek Thalrex, ruler of half the known galaxy. He wore no crown, he didn't need one. His voice, cold and sharp, echoed through the chamber like a blade dragged across steel. Humanity, he said, is out of control. They refuse to follow council orders. They build in silence, expand in shadows. They do not kneel. The crowd roared, not with celebration but with approval. Rage, fear, and pride flowed together. The Thalrexian Empire had tolerated the Terrans long enough. Now it was time for submission, or erasure. The Emperor raised one hand. This is not a warning. This is our declaration. Earth will surrender, or Earth will fall. He turned to the side as a massive galactic map unfolded in the air beside him. A glowing red wave moved across it, showing the path of the Imperial 7th Armada, one of the largest fleets in the galaxy destination, Sol System. Meanwhile, on Earth no alarms rang, no red lights blinked, no panic spread through the streets. Earth remained silent. President Alia Hassan sat inside Earth Command, far underground, surrounded by a dozen calm-faced generals and a silent screen. She watched the Emperor's speech replay without emotion. Her assistant, a young man with shaking hands, finally broke the silence. "Ma'am, don't we need to respond? They're moving toward us." Alia turned to him slowly. Her voice was quiet, firm, and strangely amused. "We already responded." The generals gave small nods. The assistant blinked. "I don't understand." She smiled gently. "That's good. Neither will they. The Imperial fleet moves. The 7th Armada was more than a fleet. It was a floating city of destruction. 3 dreadnoughts, 10 heavy cruisers, over 100 support vessels and fighter wings. At its front was the flagship Blood Rain, commanded by Admiral Valoric, a war-hardened Thalrexian who had once reduced a planet to ash for delaying tribute. He stood tall on the bridge, surrounded by officers, each one confident. "How long until Sol System?" he asked. 3 days, High Admiral." "Excellent," he said, grinning. Time to break the silence. Approaching Pluto on the 3rd day, the fleet entered the far edge of Sol. They passed Neptune with no resistance, no human warships, not even a scanner ping. The Admiral laughed. "This is Earth's mighty defense." But then, as they neared Pluto, the bridge lights flickered. One of the officers raised his head. "Sir, we're detecting something ahead." "What kind of ship?" the Admiral asked. The officer shook his head. "It's not a ship." They magnified the object. A single satellite, dark and silent, floated alone near Pluto's orbit. It wasn't transmitting anything until the fleet got closer. The message the satellite powered on. A pale blue light glowed from a single lens, then began playing a message, one that echoed through every ship in the fleet, through every headset, every screen. In perfect Thalrexian, "You are approaching a red zone. Proceeding further is your final choice." The fleet froze. Admiral Valoric stood from his chair, voice filled with disbelief. "Is this some kind of joke?" Another officer shook his head. "Sir, the signal is strong. It's broadcasting across multiple spectrums. Jamming it," the Admiral ordered. "It's not jammable." The beacon's warning, the message repeated every 30 seconds. The same voice, same words, but the tone had changed. It wasn't just calm, it was confident, like the Terrans already knew what would happen. One young Thalrexian officer turned pale. "Sir, what if this isn't a bluff?" Valoric narrowed his eyes. "You think these humans, these Terran upstarts, have the strength to stop the Empire?" No one answered. The satellite began spinning slowly, revealing more components on its side. Antennae, small, sharp points, faint hums. One officer leaned in close. "That's not a communication relay, sir. That's a targeting array." Back on Earth Command Room, President Alia stood beside a darkened window deep beneath Earth's surface. Beside her, a large digital map showed a glowing dot labeled Pluto Beacon, active. A general approached. "The fleets reached the beacon, ma'am. They triggered the message. Any reaction?" Alia simply folded her arms. "Now we wait." Back in the fleet, the decision. Valoric paced the bridge. "What's the worst this thing can do?" he muttered. A second later, the beacon flashed red. A different voice came through, this time not human. It was a perfect copy of Admiral Valoric's own voice repeating, "I was warned. I ignored it. I was the first to fall." The Admiral froze. Everyone on the bridge turned to him. That's impossible." A faint mechanical laugh played through the comms. The beacon dimmed. And then, everything went black. Cliffhanger. Systems down in a single moment. Over 70% of the fleet's systems shut off. No lights. No engines. No weapons. Ships began to drift. Emergency lights flickered. Panic spread across every vessel as crew members shouted over broken comms. Admiral Valoric shouted, "Get us back online. Get us out of here." But it was too late. A final transmission came through on an old frequency, used only during extinction-level events. It was brief, cold. "This is Earth's only warning. Turn back or be forgotten." Admiral Valoric stood in the darkness all around him. The bridge of Blood Rain, the Imperial flagship, was in chaos. Sparks flew from ruined terminals. The main holomap was dead. Power had been cut from engines, weapons, and internal comms. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something new: uncertainty. Fleet status, unknown status report. He shouted. No one answered. His officers were tapping furiously on dead consoles. Only emergency backup lights flickered red across the walls. Where is engineering? Why haven't we rebooted? One of the younger techs finally looked up. Sir, something entered our systems. It wasn't a virus, it was already there. Valoric frowned. What do you mean already there? It didn't come from the satellite. The tech's hands trembled. No, Admiral. The moment we got near Pluto, the code was already buried in our core drives. It's like it was waiting for us. Across the fleet, silence one by one. Imperial captains tried to reboot their ships. None succeeded. Comms across the fleet were broken. Propulsion was offline. Life support was on minimum backup. The Imperial 7th Armada was now a dead wall of steel drifting in space. Inside one cruiser, a commander slammed his fist into the console. What kind of tech is this? Terrans are primitive. His second-in-command looked pale. Not anymore, sir. Meanwhile, Earth Command deep beneath Earth's surface. In the command bunker near Geneva, President Alia Hassan stood with her arms crossed. Watching the live feed, dozens of Terran satellites monitored the disabled Thalrex fleet. Silent black dots floating near Pluto. General Wren smiled from beside her. They triggered the beacon, and they lost power across 70% of their ships, just like we predicted. Another general turned from his console. Should we activate Phase 2? President Alia didn't answer right away. She stared at the screen, then finally said, no, let them float for now. Let the galaxy watch. Galaxy-wide broadcast. Terran signal then. Every major network in the galaxy paused in marketplaces, aboard stations, in political chamber. Screens turned black. A single message appeared. Live feed. Sol system event. Billions tuned in. And what they saw was a humbling sight. The once mighty Thalrex Armada, frozen above Pluto. Hundreds of ships, drifting helplessly in the cold. No weapons, no movement. And then, a voice. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it was calm. Male, human, we asked for peace. You brought war. You passed Pluto. That was your mistake. Earth does not forget. Earth does not forgive. On the Imperial homeworld back on Thalrex Prime, Emperor Kalzek rose from his throne in disbelief. They're broadcasting us losing control. His advisors looked terrified. Yes, my Emperor. The entire galaxy is watching. The Emperor slammed his fist into the digital war table. Send reinforcements. Double the fleet. A soft voice behind him spoke. What if doubling means doubling the defeat? It was the Empire's grand strategist, Lady Zelona. She was rarely afraid, but this time, even she was pale. This wasn't an ambush, she whispered. This was a test we failed to see. Admiral Valoric's desperation back in the blood rain. Admiral Valoric finally made contact with a single support ship. Iron Fang, which had regained limited comms. Their voice cracked through the static. Sir, we have a theory. Earth didn't hack us. Their virus was inside our own system updates. Valoric blinked. That's impossible. Those updates come from secure Empire servers. The captain replied grimly. What if the humans were in our systems long before the war even started? Valoric sat down, stunned. They had underestimated Earth completely. A second signal activates suddenly. Every ship in the Thalrex fleet lit up. But it wasn't from the humans. It was internal. One by one, the ship lights turned blue, then shut off again. Warning messages flashed across every screen. Begin countdown. 5 minutes. System purge protocol active. AI lockdown commencing. The Terran virus was deleting the fleet's internal navigation data. Coordinates, star maps, jump routes. All were being erased soon. Even if the ships were repaired, they'd be blind. Admiral Valoric stood in rage. They're not killing us. They're erasing us. Terran AI speaks suddenly. The screens lit up again, but this time, it wasn't text. A face appeared. Not human. Not alien. Just a smooth, glowing blue form. It had no eyes, no mouth, but it moved. The Empire thought Earth would surrender. They believed silence meant weakness. They were wrong because Earth wasn't preparing for war. It was preparing a response location. Earth Command, Geneva. 48 hours later, inside Earth's Strategic Defense Complex. President Alia Hassan walked calmly into the main war room. The giant holomap of the solar system was glowing red around Pluto. Hundreds of red dots marked the disabled Imperial 7th Armada, still drifting in shame. But Earth's focus had already shifted. Behind Alia, General Wren stepped forward and spoke one word. Vengeance. She nodded. Activate it. What was Vengeance protocol? A myth, a shadow in the dark. Even most Terran citizens didn't know it existed, buried under miles of encrypted code. The protocol was simple. If Earth was ever threatened by a galactic power, and diplomacy failed, Earth would not defend itself. It would go on the offensive. No warning. No fleets. Just a quiet, cold signal from deep inside the planet. Vinox, armed somewhere in the asteroid belt, hidden inside a hollow asteroid. An old black structure powered on for the first time in 25 years. No crew. No lights. Just machines, silent humming, waiting. Missiles slid from their racks, drones blinked awake, and a strange ship, shaped like a jagged crescent moon, detached from the station. It had no registry, no ID. It was called the Eclipse. Its orders were simple: follow the fleet, record everything. If attacked, erase it all. Meanwhile, Imperial space, the Prime Armada moves back on Thaurex Prime. Emperor Calzek had made his decision. No more half measures. The Prime Armada was launched, unlike the disabled fleet near Pluto. This armada was led by enhanced warbeasts, organic battlecruisers grown inside stars. Faster, stronger, cruel, led by High Lord General Serix, known as the Butcher of Helion. He had ended 5 rebellions. He had no fear of Terrans. We will land on Earth within 7 days, Serix promised. We will tear down their cities, melt their skies, and wring their leaders in chains. The galaxy watched. Some cheered. Most waited. Earth doesn't flinch. The news of the incoming Prime Armada reached Earth in minutes. It was no longer a secret invasion. It was a show of force broadcast across all known space. Civilians were not told to hide. Cities were not evacuated. Instead, in a broadcast that reached across Earth's colonies, President Alia made a quiet announcement. We are not afraid. We are not running. We are activating Project Ashlight. No one outside the military knew what Ashlight meant, but the moment she said it, 6 Terran defense hubs began glowing across the globe. Back in the Drift Fleet chaos, Valoric and his broken 7th Armada still drifted near Pluto. Their systems were still mostly down. Most ships had no power. And then got worse. A strange pulse rippled through the fleet. Every functioning screen turned white. A new message appeared. The Prime Armada is coming. You failed. You were warned. This was never about your fleet. It was always about what comes next. Valoric punched a screen. They're mocking us. Again. But deep down, he felt it. Terror. Because if Earth had done this without firing a shot, what would it do when it actually got serious? Earth's black ships wake. They had been sleeping. Floating in empty space. Silent. Powerless. Just data shells. Waiting. But now, they were awake. 10 of them. No lights. No visible thrusters. No sound. Only movement. Smooth, controlled, and precise. They headed toward the edge of the solar system, not to defend Earth, but to intercept. Each black ship carried no crew, only one AI-class integrated response. AIHAI had access to one command code. Unleash. In the Council Chambers division across the galaxy, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Some members demanded they support the Empire, others said to stay out. But one voice, soft and calm, spoke clearly. Earth is not like the others. It was the Lurati speaker, an ancient, peaceful species that rarely spoke in war meetings. We watched them once, she said. When Earth first built its ships, it didn't build them to conquer, it built them to end wars before they began. If Earth is truly rising now, we must ask ourselves one thing. Who are they rising against? Back on Earth, Commander Reza joins the table. Commander Reza Malko, the architect of Vengeance Protocol, entered the main war room. He was older now, his body cybernetically reinforced from old battles, but his mind still sharp. He looked around at the gathered leaders. You've seen what the Empire has done. They crushed worlds, silenced colonies, killed scientists, not soldiers. He pulled up a hologram of the approaching Prime Armada. This is not their punishment. This is their lesson. Everyone turned to President Alia. She gave a quiet nod. Then teach it. Cliffhanger. Earth's signal reaches the Prime Armada. As the Prime Armada approached Neptune, every ship received a signal, direct and unfiltered. It came from an unknown Terran source. It spoke only 6 words, broadcast in perfect Imperial dialect. We are not your prey. We are your warning. And then the black ships entered visual range, but they didn't fire. They didn't speak. In the heart of the galaxy, on the throne world of Thaurex Prime, the golden halls shook. The Emperor of the Thaurexian Empire, Calzek the Fourth, watched the report on a massive curved screen. His lips twitched. His claws tightened. His grand fleet, the mighty Prime Armada, had just entered soul space, and they were already surrounded by 10 Terran black ships. No heat, no sound, no visible weapons, just silent warcraft floating like ghosts. What is this? Calzek growled. Why aren't they firing? Why aren't they speaking? His voice echoed across the war chamber. No one answered, until his personal war advisor, High Strategist Valer, stepped forward. Your Majesty, I believe this is a test, a message. Calzek turned sharply. A test. We are the Empire. We do not get tested. But Valer didn't flinch, and yet Earth does not attack. They simply wait. That should worry us more than any weapon. Meanwhile, Earth's black ships hold position. The 10 Terran vessels had surrounded the Imperial fleet in a perfect spherical formation. Not one moved, not one powered a weapon, but every Thaurexian system screamed with silent alarms of locked targeting systems, unknown scans, and internal AI interference. On board the Imperial flagship Dreadclaw, General Serix stood at the war table. Why don't they attack? He muttered. A junior officer, his eyes wide with fear, replied, Sir, their ships don't even appear on our sensors unless they want to. Another officer added, They're signaled. Those 6 words, it's repeating in every language across our fleet. We are not your prey. We are your warning. The Emperor's orders back on Thalrex Prime. Kelzek rose from his throne and slammed his fist onto the metal armrest. Enough. He stared into the eyes of his generals. Send the Hellfire Division. Activate the Omega Bombers. Burn Mars. Cripple Earth's orbit. Wipe them off the map. Strategist Vela stepped forward cautiously. My Emperor, if we attack first, we may trigger something far worse. Their silence isn't fear, it's calculation. Kelzek's voice dropped to a cold whisper. They made the Empire look weak, and for that, they will drown in fire. High orbit of Mars. Terran response begins as the Empire prepared its first real strike. A Terran deep-orbit satellite over Mars shimmered, its camouflage shell peeled back, revealing a long, sleek cannon-like structure built into an orbital rock. Sol Defense Node 03 online. Inside Earth Command, a technician reported, they're charging weapons. General Wren turned to Commander Reza. Fire first. Reza's answer was simple. No, let them. Let history record who drew first blood. The first shot on board Imperial bomber Flamebeak. Pilot Zorvik. Confirmed target lock Mars. Civilian tech colonies. No major resistance. He received a go order. Weapons hot. Countdown 3 to 1 before he could press the fire key. The entire ship exploded from the inside out. There was no missile, no beam, just silence, then nothing. And it happened again and again. 3 bombers, gone in 3 seconds. On the Dreadclaw, alarms screamed, "We're under attack," but the radar showed nothing. No missiles, no beams, only a blinking red message. Retaliation detected. Phase 1 complete. Panic on the bridge. General Serex shouted, "Where is it coming from?" The ship's AI answered coldly, "Unknown. You are surrounded by vessels outside measurable tech standards. Probability of survival, 6%. Then, on the main screen, something began materializing. From behind Mars's shadow, a massive Terran ship emerged. It wasn't sleek like the black vessels. It was monstrous thick armor, heavy design, covered in rotating cannons and sensor arrays. The name glowed on its side in bold white letters, TSV Titan, Terran Siege Vessel. Across the galaxy gasps on every world watching the broadcast. The people stared in silence. The Terrans weren't defending with satellites anymore. They had capital ship swans never recorded in any registry. Even the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. The Lurati speaker whispered they were never silent out of fear. They were silent because they were building. A merchant guild leader leaned forward. We thought Earth had no fleet. They had no need to show it. The Titan speaks. A new voice echoed across the fleet's frequency. This time, it was human. A woman's voice. Calm, powerful, undeniably confident. This is Commander Sarah Lynn of the TSV Titan. You have fired on Sol territory. You, who have ignored every warning. Your command authority is no longer recognized. This fleet will be dismantled. General Serex responds on the Dreadclaw. Serex bared his teeth. Tell that human to prepare for death. He ordered a full barrage of torpedoes. The moment the weapons launched, they exploded. The Emperor of Thalrex watched in silence. His strongest ships dashed disabled. His elite bombers dashed destroyed. His best general now out of contact. But the worst part, Earth hadn't even used its full strength. And yet, the mighty Prime Armada was already falling apart. On the screens before him, his grand fleet drifted like space debris near Mars. A soft voice broke the silence. Shall the first recall the rest of the Armada, my Emperor? Kelzek's claws gripped the armrest of his throne. No, he hissed. We didn't come all this way to retreat. If they want to show fire, we'll show them a sun. Earth Command Underground Facility. Geneva. President Alia stood beside Commander Reza and General Wren. All eyes were on the TSV Titan, still holding position over Mars. The 10 black Terran ships were now spreading silently, moving through the Imperial fleet, scanning and disabling targets without a single shot. Reza crossed his arms. They didn't understand. Wren nodded. We warned them. We warned them when they crossed Pluto. Now their ships are ghosts. Then the room darkened. A new signal appeared. Unusual energy spikes forming beyond Saturn. An AI voice chimed. Warning, gravitic anomaly detected. Massive energy signature approaching. Reza narrowed his eyes. They're sending something bigger. The Empire's secret weapon near Saturn. Space rippled like heat over metal. Then, it ripped open. A golden sphere the size of a small moon pushed through a wormhole. It glowed with nuclear fire. Its surface shimmered with molten circuits and armor plates constantly rebuilding themselves. The system labeled it Unregistered Class. Starfauger inside. This mobile fortress was a weapon the Empire had never used before in open battle. This core, a solar bomb capable of igniting an entire planet's atmosphere, built to burn worlds. Panic on Earth. In the Earth Command war room, the AI's tone changed. New object classified. World killer tier. Tactical estimate. Total surface loss, if deployed, 96.2%. Silence filled the room for the first time. Even the Terran leadership paused. General Wren whispered, "We may not stop that thing before it fires." Commander Reza nodded grimly. Then we do what we always do. We adapt. He turned toward Alia. It's time to activate it. Alia gave the smallest nod. Codeword Leviathan. Leviathan Protocol. Earth's hidden giant buried beneath the ice crust of your hidden ocean. A shape stirred. Sensors came alive. Liquid iron flowed through its systems, and a long, dark machine opened its red eyes for the first time in years. TSV Leviathan, launching, the ice shattered. A 15-kilometer-long dreadnought rose from Europa's surface like a monster from legend. Built in silence, stored in deep cold, designed not to fight wars, but to end them. The Council watches in horror in the central hall of the Galactic Council. Thousands watched the live stream from Seoul. Ambassadors of dozens of species stood in silence. One screen showed the Fuga heating up. The other showed the TSV Leviathan entering high-speed warp toward the enemy. The Lorati speaker leaned forward. This is not war anymore. This is a reckoning. The clash near Saturn, the Empire's Starfoga powered its skyburn core. It glowed like a rising sun. Terran satellites cracked from the heat. Moons melted on one side. Then the Leviathan arrived. No announcement, no broadcast. Just presence. And then, soundless fire. The Leviathan's main weapon charged an ultra-dense rail beam made to punch through moons. One beam, 1 second, it pierced the Starfoga's hull like paper. The weapon didn't explode, it folded. Its layers of molten armor imploded, swallowed by the core that was meant to destroy Earth. The result? A quiet black hole formed in the wreckage. And just like that, the Empire's ultimate weapon vanished. The sky turns red. The energy released wasn't clean. Saturn's rings scattered. Radiation burst across space. The Imperial fleet near Mars saw it happen. And for the first time in generations, Thalrex warriors ran. Escape pods launched. Support ships turned away from Earth and the black Terran vessels. They didn't stop them. They just watched. A message pulsed through every escaping ship. You started this. We ended it. This was restraint. Earth's silence. Again the Leviathan did not chase. It simply returned to Europa and sank beneath the ice once more. TSV Titan remained over Mars and all across Earth. No celebrations were held, no announcements made, no boasts spoken. The people of Earth went back to work, quiet, focused, unshaken, because the war was never about proving anything. It was about sending one clear message to the galaxy. Do not mistake our silence for surrender. Back on Thalrex Prime, collapse begins. The Emperor stood alone in his throne chamber. News poured in. Mining colonies declaring independence, trade guilds breaking contracts, council members calling for investigations, and worst of all, the loss of 2 entire armadas without a single human death. Kalzek dropped to his knees. We tried to burn them and we lit ourselves on fire, he whispered. What are they? Cliffhanger. Earth's final message of her imperial system, from battle cruisers to capital cities, received one last encrypted transmission. From Earth, only for words. Let this be enough. The Empire wanted Earth to kneel. Instead, the Empire did. But there was no formal surrender, no speech, no galaxy-wide announcement, just silence. And silence, in the galaxy, speaks louder than war. Thalrex Prime Emperor in shadows, Sapra Kalzek, sat alone in his once grand chamber. The walls that once echoed with power now felt hollow. He watched the slow reports appear before him. 92% of the Prime Armada destroyed, captured, or disabled. Starfoga weapon lost. Trade embargoes collapsing for border worlds declaring neutrality. Internal rebellions flaring. His most loyal generals had stopped contacting him. The silence from Earth was not just tactical, it was psychological. It haunted him. They didn't invade, Kalzek whispered. They didn't demand tribute. They didn't even speak. He slammed his fist down. They erased us and moved on. Earth a different kind of victory. Back in Geneva, Earth's command center was calm. No cheering. No music. Just quiet people at work. President Alia stood at the world table, watching updated reports roll in. Earth's cities were safe. Civilian casualties, 0. Satellites restored. No Terran ship lost. But her eyes were fixed on one message. Imperial envoy, requesting communication. Level 1 clearance. Commander Reza looked at her. They want to talk. General Wren raised a brow. Talk or beg? Alia didn't smile. Does it matter? Open the line. A humbled voice, a secure holocanal activated. Instead of Emperor Kalzek, a familiar but lower-ranking figure appeared. Strategist Vela. His voice was strained, his eyes dim. President Alia. Commander Reza, I speak on behalf of the surviving Imperial Council. Alia said nothing. Vela continued. The Thalrex Empire requests cessation of hostilities. Reza tilted his head. There were no hostilities. You attacked. We responded. You lost. Vela took a breath. Then, we request a treaty. Alia finally responded. Terms will be delivered. Then she ended the call. No arguments. No negotiation. Just control. The treaty draft. In the days that followed, Earth sent a one-page agreement to the Empire. Thalrex ships may no longer enter Sol space. Human colonies outside Sol are now sovereign and protected. No retaliation allowed via proxy or alliance. Any further violations would be answered without warning. There were no threats, no insults, no demands for wealth or resources. Just rules, and rules that everyone obeyed. The Galactic Council reacts on the neutral world of Rhesus. The Galactic Council met to discuss the outcome. Some expected Earth to rise as a conqueror. Others feared a new superpower. But what shocked them was Earth's complete silence. No celebrations, no requests, no expansion. Just a quiet return to daily life. The Lurati speakers stood before the chamber. They were attacked by a superior fleet. They responded with strength. They showed mercy, then walked away. We have not seen power like this in 1,000 years, but we have never seen such restraint. Small planets begin to speak across the galaxy. Minor colonies and forgotten worlds sent encrypted messages to Earth. Most were simple. Will you protect us? If the Empire comes again, will you answer? Some offered gifts, others offered information. Earth accepted nothing yet, but they kept every message. Filed, sorted, tagged. Because Earth had learned one thing from history: power is loud, influence is quiet. And right now, Earth was becoming the loudest silence in the galaxy. The human message spreads. Clips of the Titan, the Leviathan, and the disabling of the Prime Armada flooded networks. Some believed it was propaganda, others knew it was real, and everywhere, a message echoed, played on backchannels, in memes, in pirate stations, in student groups. Earth never wanted war, but it never loses one. One merchant captain, speaking in a popular bar, said, "The scary part isn't what Earth did, it's what Earth didn't do." Back on Earth, quiet preparation. In the Terran Arctic, beneath the ice, new facilities were being expanded. Orbital black yards spun silently in the dark. Terran AI systems ran simulations, not of war, but of what happens after war. Because Commander Reza knew the truth, the galaxy won't forget what happened, but eventually someone will try again. And when that day comes, Earth would be ready. The Emperor's last move on Thalrix Prime. Emperor Kalzik stared at the treaty one last time, then, without a word, he stepped away from his throne. His generals did not stop him. His guards did not salute. He walked into the darkness of the palace vaults and was never seen again. And in his place, a new council was formed, quiet, careful, respectful of Earth. Fear is a terrible ruler, but respect born fro. It had been 30 days since the fall of the Thalrex Empire's Prime Armada, since Earth had silenced the greatest threat the galaxy had seen in a century. The stars had calmed. Trade resumed. Whispers of Earth's power spread, like fire in quiet corners of the galaxy. But in the void beyond Neptune, something had awakened. Sol System Deep Monitoring Station Echo-9, buried inside a frozen moon of Neptune. A Terran listening station caught a blip, then another. Then a pulse, not a distress call, not a language, a frequency. Alien. Ancient, far beyond the range of modern navigation. The AI assigned to Echo-9 flagged the anomaly. Source unknown, pattern detected. Energy readings, non-natural, possibility, artificial, Tier 10 classification. Commander Reza was informed within minutes. He didn't panic, but he didn't smile either. "Show it to me." Inside Earth Command Geneva, the signal played once more. It wasn't a sound humans could understand. It was a feeling, heavy, rhythmic, like something breathing. President Alia stared at the waveform. "It's not from any council civilization." "No," Reza replied. "It's older, deeper, and repeating." General Wren leaned forward. "Repeating what?" The AI zoomed into the waveform. There was structured, deliberate intervals. It wasn't a cry for help, that it was a countdown, a warning. In the signal, Terran decryption teams worked around the clock. By day 3, they had isolated an ancient root language, pre-galactic, long dead. The message was clearer now, a whisper carried across time and space. It said, "Return has begun. Protocol. Vault breaker active. World Eaters inbound." The room fell silent. One analyst dropped her tablet. World Eaters, a secret, buried in Terran history. Reza knew the name, and so did Alya. Few others did, because it had been hidden, buried in a classified Terran archive called Project Sigma Dusk. A century ago, long before Earth joined the galactic stage, probes sent beyond the Oort cloud found strange readings, impossible ruins, shattered fragments of massive machines, buried under comet ice. No one understood them. Until now. "The signal is coming from the same region where those ruins were found," Reza said. "They weren't ruins, they were locks. The locks are failing." The countdown wasn't just counting down time, it was a sequence. Each beat matched an energy spike, one that Earth's satellites now detected coming from a single deep space point. Something was breaking out. Wren studied the model. "It's like a cage opening. From the inside, whatever's in there, it's waking up. And it remembers Earth." Alia leaned forward. "Contact the council." Reza shook his head. "We already did. They've gone dark." The council panics and reases. The Galactic Council met behind closed doors. The Thalrex were gone. The galaxy had expected peace. But this signal, they recognized it. They'd seen fragments of it in forgotten tombs, Starix, and stories passed down from species long extinct. Council speaker Venkar whispered, "We didn't lock them away, we only slowed them. And Earth sits directly in their path." No one volunteered help. No fleets launched. The message from the Council to Earth was brief. "This event is beyond current capability. Sol is on its own. Earth prepares." Alone back on Earth, the response was calm. No panic was allowed. Because panic wastes time. Commander Reza activated protocol Hollow Shield. Every Terran colony, outpost, and vessel was upgraded to defensive status. Satellites reoriented, stealth drones launched, and in the dark skies beyond Jupiter, the Leviathan stirred again. President Alia made a quiet announcement to Earth's citizens. We are not under attack, but something old and powerful is coming. We will not be caught unaware, and we will not stand alone. The Eclipse returns from the edge of known space. An unregistered Terran vessel reappeared. The Eclipse dot. It had been watching the Empire fall. Now its mission had changed. No crew, just AI and eyes. It blinked toward the source of the signal. Inside its silent hull, a system activated. Observation mode suspended. Engagement risk maximum. Begin Phase 1. Pre-strike analysis. The first glimpse on day 8 of the signal. The first true reading came in. A shape. Big dot. Not a ship, not a station, but something alive. Metal and bone. Dormant for eons. Floating between systems on gravitational slipstreams. It was building itself as it moved. Drawing energy, constructing mass. It didn't hide, it didn't rush, it just came forward. Like something remembering what war feels like, and in its shadow smaller signals blinked into being. Thousands of them. Drones, ships, spawn, the AI. Watching it didn't label them. It just said, this is not a fleet, this is an extinction event. Cliffhanger. The final countdown. The signal, once a whisper, now blasted across all known bands. It wasn't asking for help. It wasn't demanding surrender. It was simply stating a fact, translated into all major languages. The message read, the gate has opened, prepare for silence. And in Earth Command, Commander Reza whispered, the Empire was just a test. This is the real threat. The stars were quiet. Too quiet. From the far edges of the galaxy, something vast moved through space, slow, deliberate, unstoppable. The countdown had ended. The gate had opened, and Earth was alone. Geneva, Earth Command. Commander Reza stood in the war room, facing the main screen. A single image filled the display, a massive shape, kilometers wide, approaching from deep space. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't a creature, it was something in between. Metal, bone, energy. It had no clear design, it simply was behind it. Hundreds, no thousands of smaller forms followed, some shaped like blades, others like crawling machines. All silent, all headed straight for Seoul. President Alia stepped beside Reza. Do we have a name? Reza nodded once. The system calls it Devourer. Activation of the final protocol. Earth had planned for many things. Invasion, orbital siege, biological warfare, but this was Extinction Protocol. President Alia gave the order, activate last line defense. From Antarctica to the asteroid belt, Terran command bunkers roared to life. Systems that hadn't powered on in decades lit up. Project names like Goliath, Skyshield, and Heimdall flashed on screens. But one program sat quietly, waiting for a voice buried under the Mariana Trench. It powered on. Project Aegis online. A voice asked, do you wish to engage Earth's final guardian? Alia took a long breath. Engage. The sky burns again from the oceans of Earth. Massive panels lifted into orbit. Satellites aligned. Mars defense systems synced with lunar railguns. But it wouldn't be enough. The Devourer was still days out, but its vanguard had arrived. The first wave. Black shards the size of buildings entered orbit without heat, without sound. They weren't just weapons. They were harvesters. They began breaking apart asteroids, and drones repurposing matter to grow. Earth's orbital fleet launched to intercept. The TSV Titan and TSV Leviathan powered forward. And behind them, a third ship rose from Venus orbit. TSV Judgment. A ship built from black glass and quantum armor. No nameplate, no windows, just a pulse. The battle begins in orbit above Mars. The first Terran volley fired. Thousands of rail slugs, pulse beams, and drone swarms screamed into space. The harvesters didn't dodge, they absorbed. They changed shape, and they kept coming. One Terran cruiser was split in half by a living spear. Another exploded from the AI, overrun by a virus embedded in the enemy's very skin. But the Leviathan did not fall. Its main cannon fired once, and an entire cloud of harvesters disappeared. Earth's secret weapon revealed. Then the Judgment moved. For years, its existence had been denied. It wasn't powered by fission or antimatter. It was powered by folding space itself. As the harvesters closed in, the Judgment activated a weapon that didn't fire outward. It fired inward, ripping holes in space-time and dragging the enemy into nowhere, one by one. The sky cleared, but the Devourer was still coming. The Devourer arrives. It did not rush, it did not speak, it simply cast a shadow as it passed. Jupiter, the gas giant's magnetic field cracked, Moon split in half, and every sensor on Earth shut down for 7 seconds when it appeared. Then a signal. Not words, a vision. Everyone on Earth, human or AI, saw the same thing. A broken galaxy, planets shattered, a burning Earth, and silence. Project Aegis activates beneath the Mariana Trench. The ocean boiled. A massive structure emerged like a city rising from the sea. Not a ship, not a weapon, a network. 12 AI cores synchronized into one. Terran defense satellites rerouted to obey it. Drones shifted formations. Then the Aegis AI spoke for the first time. Earth will not fall. Commencing protocol. Celestial cage. From every planet, moon, and asteroid in the Sol system, Hidden systems activated. Invisible beams formed, a vast web of gravitational traps. It wasn't designed to kill the Devour, it was designed to contain it. One last stand. The Leviathan, Titan, and Judgment formed a triangle around the approaching devourer, each fired in perfect sync. The cage activated. The stars blinked. And suddenly the devourer stopped moving for the first time. It reacted, it pulsed, then screamed, not with sound, but through space itself. Satellites cracked, AI cores overheated. A Terran cruiser lost all function and drifted lifeless, but the cage held the choice inside Earth Command. President Alia was given a final option. Aegis has opened a fold bomb window. You may send the devourer away, Reza asked. Where? The AI replied, beyond the edge of the galaxy. We can't destroy it, but we can make sure it never comes back. Alia didn't hesitate. Do it. The end, or the beginning. The cage pulsed. The devourer struggled. Its drones shattered. Its limbs folded inward. It tried to burn space to rewrite the gravity around it. But Earth's weapon was restraint. And restraint is not